Alright, so we're back at it again. There's a little bit more navigation and keyboard shortcuts that I think are useful that we're going to try to do. So if I want to select the entire row, I ought to be able to just hit Shift Space and it selects the entire row. Right? So notice it goes all the way up to A and it goes all the way to the very end. If instead I want an entire column, it's Control Space. Well, so now it selected everything because I had a row selected. So if I just have one cell selected and then hit Control Space, it takes that column. If I have multiple cells, let's hit Control Space and see what happens. It does both columns, right? It should do the same thing for the rows as well. So that was Shift Space. Yeah, so it does, right? So if I have two cells selected and I hit Shift Space, it will select those two rows. If instead I hit Control Space, it will select the entire two columns that those are in. Now the other thing we might often want to do is select everything. So if I hit Control A, that's select all, notice what happened here. I was actually expecting it to select the entire worksheet. It did not. What did it do? It went all the way down to the last thing in the far right corner that had any information. So it went down to B3, right? This is all going across from there. So from here, Control A did that. If I hit Control A again, doesn't do anything, right? If I'm up here in this space, let's hit Control A and see what happens. Now, because I'm in a blank space and there's no text or numbers or anything in the cells surrounding it, it selects the entire worksheet. Right? If instead I'm over here in E5 and hit Control A, what do you think is going to happen? Selects only all the contiguous data that's touching it. Right? So I'm going to come back over to here. And now if I'm down here in this data and I hit Control A, notice it gets the headers. Notice also that it went all the way down to the bottom. Right? So let's go back up here. Same thing for over here. If I hit Control A, it just does the stuff that's all contiguous. Alright, there's another thing I want to show you. Let's come back up to here. So we filled in all of this yellow stuff in the previous time by selecting it all and using Control Enter. That is certainly probably the way I would do it most of the time. There are other ways of doing it. So if instead I wanted to fill in these guys, right, and I have the formula I want off to the left, I select those cells and I hit Control. I select the one next to it and I hit Control R, right? So I can pull in something to the right that is immediately to the left of it. So it's a little more of a manual process, right? But notice what's happening. It's actually taking that formula that is there and going over. I can do the same thing here. If I want to copy something from above down, I go to the empty cell and I want this formula sum E14 through BB14 to become the sum F14 through BB, E15, right? I come down to the cell that's empty and I hit Control D for bringing it down, and notice it goes to row 15. Right? So other ways of doing it. Another interesting thing we can do is if I'm in this cell here, right, I'm in C15 and I'm all the way down here somewhere, right, scrolling, but none of these cells are active. To get back to the active cell, I should be able to hit Control Backspace and it takes me back to wherever that cell was that was active. Right? Other interesting thing, if I have a block of cells selected and I want to move around them, if I hit Control period, it goes around the edges in clockwise fashion by selecting those cells, right? So that might be useful for you as well. And then finally, what we need to look at, I'm going to come over to the side. I'm going to do some more auto filling here. So let's try a couple things out. So I'm just going over to some blank cells. Come over and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So if we want to flash fill stuff, right, we can start like this, and then we can select both of them, go down to the bottom right hand corner, and do that. Right, so it goes 1 through 8. Notice this little autofill option pops up. It did fill series. You could also fill formatting, fill without function, or flash fill. All right. So Excel is smart enough to do that. What about if I do Monday, Tuesday? Is it smart enough to go on the calendar? Look at that. It is. That's pretty cool, right? What about January, February? Hopefully I can spell. Can I go through all the months? Yeah, look at that. So it's pretty good at that kind of stuff. And then the other thing that we might want to do is be able to paste special, copy stuff and paste special. So if I wanted to copy this number here, so I select the cell, hit Control C to copy it. If I come over to BE5 and hit Control V, notice what it does is it actually takes the formula and moves it over. That's not what I want. What I want is that same number. So what I should do instead, I hit Control Z to undo that. I'm come over here, Control C, come back over to here, and then if I do Control Alt V, that does a paste special, and many times I want just the values. Now it gives me just the values, right? So notice up here in the formula bar it shows the number, whereas over on this one it shows the formula. The other thing we might do is we might copy it, and the other thing you can do is in a cell right click and do paste special, and you might also want to keep the values only but also the formatting, right? So we could do it that way as well. So there are some more useful, helpful shortcuts for you. In addition, if we look at Blackboard, there are Excel keyboard shortcuts here, which is over 200 keyboard shortcuts, all right, that you can go through, as well as a link, hyperlink to showing you what they think are the most important Excel shortcuts. So take a look at that stuff as well.